Hey everybody, welcome to the Movie Quotes Jones review of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I'm eventually going to make my way through all of the all of the Star Wars movies. Right now, at the time of this recording, there are 8 with the ninth and hopefully final one on its way. I'm not going to talk about Solo or Rogue One or any of these other intermediate movies that Disney decides to crank out to take our money. Maybe I'll do Rogue One eventually. I haven't seen Solo yet. Now, I've seen all 8 movies, obviously. I grew up in the United States, and as a result, I've seen all 8 Star Wars movies. And so some of these I know pretty well. Some of them I'm going to have to go back and rewatch. This was one of them. I will release the videos in chronological order, so it's going to take a while to get through all of these. So, where do we begin with Episode 1? There's a lot to talk about. Now, just in the interest of fairness, I do make pros and cons lists for each of these movies, even though they're unscripted reviews. Now, I have these lists, but I'm going to start talking about this movie from a general standpoint and then get more specific as we go along. What I'm not going to do probably with any of these, y'all, is give you a plot synopsis. And that's because you already know the plot, probably. And if you don't, there are a million movie reviewers who are orders of magnitude better at this than me who would probably do a better job and not let their personal feelings on the movie get in the way of an objective plot summary or whatever. There's also Wikipedia, and there's also IMDb and all that. So I'm just going to talk about this, from my personal point of view. You may not agree with me. That's okay. You don't have to agree on everything. Now, I've not seen The Phantom Menace in a long time. I don't remember the last time I saw it. I remember the first time I saw it, I got duped, just with everybody else my age, into going to a midnight preview. And so we paid the money. At the time, we had to drive to Vero Beach from Port St. Lucie in Florida to go see the movie on Thursday. The movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes long. And then we had to be back because we had to be at school, the next day. It was Friday. And I remember sitting in that theater and being and this was in 2000, 1999, 2000. So that would have made me either in 8th grade or 9th grade in high school. I would have been either 15 or 16 years old. And I remember sitting there and just thinking, wow, this sucks. It sucked. I remember just being so let down. And I went and watched it a few more times, obviously, and I mean, this ties right in to, I think, the biggest issue that I have with The Phantom Menace. The biggest issue is that everybody wanted this movie. It wasn't something like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where it was a sequel to a rebooted series that nobody asked for, nobody wanted, and just served as an extended commercial. And there's a few movies like that. That's just the first one that I thought of right now. Just a vehicle by which to sell toys and sell merchandise and place products and all that kind of stuff. Now, you get toys and all that shit associated with Star Wars. I mean, that's how George Lucas got loaded, right? He kept all the merchandising stuff and aggressively sold toys. So that was coming with this, inevitably. But it didn't have brand name things that we know, because in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they didn't have Sony and Dell and Pepsi and Pizza Hut. I think Pizza Hut and Pepsi are the same company, but you understand my point. They weren't trying to product place a company that made green milk or lightsabers. So sell your own stuff, fine. But everybody wanted to go see this movie, and it came out, years and years and years, what, I guess almost 20 years after The Last Jedi? Not The Last Jedi, The Return of the Jedi, the Episode 6. So, we were all chomping at the bit. Here comes the prequel story, and almost everybody that I knew also knew this story going into it. And we went and paid for, we didn't pay, I'm sure our parents bought us our tickets, but somebody shelled money out for a ticket anyways, and we went in, and we were ready to go. The Star Wars prequel. We're going to learn about Darth Vader as a little boy. I was so excited. All my friends were so excited. My parents were excited. Then we went and sat and watched The Phantom Menace, and what we got was a long, boring, CGI-driven dirge. And everybody walked out of there, at best, confused. At the very best, people were confused. Maybe they didn't believe it, maybe they went back and saw it a second time. But I remember being furious and disappointed and let down and disillusioned. This is a movie that we wanted to see. I mean, again, my personal opinion, I feel like the public was demanding this movie, and they gave us a movie, but it was just disappointing. You know, early 2000s CGI, Liam. That's the big part. I don't want to get too specific yet. The big part is that you set us up. You know, you served us this movie on a silver platter. We all went and saw it. It sold out everywhere, and what we were delivered was just awful. And I'll talk specifically about what I think made it awful as we go along. I don't know if it was when I say the production values and stuff. I don't necessarily know if this movie was objectively badly made. I couldn't tell you. But what I do know is that I did not like watching it. And when I went back and watched it again earlier this week so that I could make this review, I didn't like it then either. I actually started the fuck Jar Jar Binks count because I got so tired of seeing him that, you know, I had written his name down in my notes so many times that I was like, you know what, there's not even a point. I'm just going to put a tally mark down every time that I think, fuck this. Are you serious? And I started doing that 41 minutes into the movie and did not count the stuff that I had already written down. So keep that in the back of your mind. We'll get to the Jar Jar count here later on. The other big deal about this movie, and you didn't learn this until you went and saw all three of the prequels, is that these three movies, in my opinion, raised a lot more issues than they solved. These movies set a certain course, set a certain plot into motion, and really what the crux of this entire trilogy of movies is to give us Darth Vader and give us Luke and Leia. That's really what you were supposed to get from this. You see Darth Vader as a little boy, he grows up into a whiny young man, and then he turns into Darth Vader, right? And then meanwhile, Luke and Leia are born, and Natalie Portman dies, and then they get shoved into their, very quickly, very sloppily, and very hastily set up so that Episode 4 can begin how Episode 4 begins and how it's began since the 70s. You figure somebody like George Lucas would know how to write a series of movies that lead into Star Wars Episode 4, a cultural phenomenon, and they did it badly, and it was not convincing. Okay, I'm going to count to 10, and we're going to get on with the show here. So, what are some things that I thought killed this movie? I bet you're thinking I'm going to say Jar Jar, but guess what? That's because I am. What was he even supposed to be? What was he supposed to be? Was he supposed to be funny? Because he wasn't one bit funny. I didn't find him to be entertaining at all. I didn't when I went and saw it. That was one of the things that made me feel confused, and I didn't this time. I've heard people say that Jar Jar can be borderline racist or something like that, or he himself is a racial stereotype. I can assure you that I did not see that. I did not see any reason to discriminate against Jar Jar other than the fact that he was a fucking annoying moron, and he served no purpose. Everything that he did involved him bumping into something accidentally, or farting on somebody, or making some stupid face or gesture at somebody, and it was just like, are you serious? He later becomes a general. Did that happen in this movie? Let me look at my list here. Jar Jar the General. Okay, ... That's what I wrote. I mean, the dude's a bumbling idiot. He's a bumbling idiot, and he makes fart jokes, and his language is stupid. Matter of fact, while we're talking about fuck Jar Jar, fuck his whole race, too. I think they're called the Gungans. Oh my lord. Was it supposed to be... What were they thinking? That's what I keep coming to. What were they thinking about? It wasn't funny. At all. I'm going to jump ahead. We had K2SO in Rogue One, and we had K2SO from Rogue One, and we had BB-8 from the third trilogy, which we'll talk about way in the future. And they were comic relief, but it didn't... I never found myself face palming and saying fuck this character out loud. With Jar Jar, basically every time I saw him on screen, I was getting ready to, like, have a capillary in my eye burst. So, I would say that far and away... I mean, his presence kills... If the plot... If the movie didn't have all the problems that it had by itself, if Jar Jar was the only problem and the Gungans were the only problem, I think they would still flatten this movie. I think they would shut it down just by being there. I don't think that we need any other thing to make this movie suck ass more than those people, those characters. So, alright, checking that off, and we're going to go on. Some of Liam Neeson's stuff was phoned in, but some of it was really well acted, in my opinion. So we're just gonna cancel that one out. Except for there's one thing that Qui-Gon Jinn does that annoys me to death. That is, he talks about his feelings and his senses pretty frequently. I sense this. I feel that. I sense this. We know you're a Jedi. If you say it once or twice to set us up, I get that. But most of us are Star Wars veterans by the time we've seen Episode 1 of The Phantom Menace. Like, we know you can feel it, and we know you can sense it. If you were to just say somebody's coming, I can feel it, that's all we need. Not, I sensed it. I didn't like it. I'm not going to go on like he did. I'm going to get off this. There's a part where R2-D2 bumps into Jar Jar Binks, and Jar Jar says something like, how rude. It's a con that R2 did not kill Jar Jar there somehow. I don't know how he would have done it, but I wish he would have. Okay, so... another scene that Jar Jar messed up. Something else that another little hating on Jar Jar that I want to make sure I get here is R2-D2 rescues, the escape ship, basically, and he gets commended, and they brush him off, and Natalie Portman comes in and starts cleaning him up, and you're like, yeah, you know what? Good person to have cleaning off a war hero. A very pretty Natalie Portman. And then, guess what? Jar Jar comes in and ruins everything. Just so you guys know, the fuck Jar Jar count is it's in the double digits for sure. Be surprised. Okay, this has been talked about before, at least on one other channel that I've seen, but I feel like it's worth mentioning here. And that is that the circumstances involving a lot of the major plot points, like how Qui-Gon ended up acquiring Anakin, how he met them to begin with, is ludicrous. Like, not carefully planned. I don't know if it was supposed to seem like dumb luck, or if it was supposed to seem like it was destined to happen because of the Force, midi-chlorian, whatever. But it just seemed like dumb. It seemed like the movie was vastly underestimating our intelligence by having that set of circumstances. Again, it involves Jar Jar bumping the fuck into somebody, and somebody else having to step in and save him. And that somebody was Anakin / Darth Vader. Can I talk about Jake Lloyd for a minute? A lot of people gave him a lot of crap for this role, for this portrayal. I've seen that too, and I've read it. And I understand why, but I honestly don't think that he was that bad. Like, the stuff that they wrote for him and the stuff that he had to say and pretend like he was doing, that was bad. I didn't mind Jake Lloyd when he was just playing a kid. Like, I just didn't. I thought he was fine. I thought he had kind of a vulnerability. I felt that he had this vulnerability, and if what's his face, if Hayden Christensen wasn't so whiny and such a crybaby in his portrayal, then I think people would have liked Jake Lloyd better because of his turn from this nice smart, well-to-do kid into basically the biggest villain in sci-fi history, at least popular sci-fi history. Okay. The entire opening scene of this movie is bullshit, up to about the 30-minute mark. I kept finding myself going, oh, bullshit. Oh, come on. Like, seriously, that was happening. I was saying it out loud. I was watching this movie by myself, and I was still talking out loud, because it was bullshit. Particularly the part with the lightsabers. Lightsabers. That's right, I'm listing lightsabers as a con. I know that that's kind of shitty. I know you're thinking, you are crazy, movie quotes. Lightsabers are the coolest. Look, I used to think that. I used to think that lightsabers were the coolest. Till I saw the Star Wars prequel trilogy. The movie starts off, you guys, you've got to understand how I think about this. The movie starts off with them melting their way through these doors on this space station just by jamming their lightsabers in. Then a whole nother set of doors closes and they melt their way through that. Then they can block every kind of bullet and kill every kind of monster or robot imaginable. They just made these lightsabers into Swiss Army knives that could do literally anything. Like, if they would have, I mean, I bet you could pogo stick with them. I bet you could get on it and ride it to the store. I bet. That's how ludicrous they made the lightsabers seem. I thought that they were too powerful. I thought that they were... Yeah, they were given too much. It was too powerful. And it made him seem, like, inaccessible and fake. Since we talked about Liam Neeson and Jake Lloyd, let's talk about Sam Jackson. He sucked in this. Sad, but motherfucking true. There, I did it. I said motherfucker one time when dealing with Sam Jackson. Now, he was awful in this. Awful. Awful. The way that he spoke, the way he delivered his lines, I'm really not sure what he was going for. But it just sounded like he was, like, in the 6th or 7th grade play. He sounded like I sounded when I acted in the high school play when I was in high school. Which is really bad and not worthy of $1 million, you know, $1 jillion paycheck. I love Sam Jackson, too. Don't get me wrong here. I absolutely love Sam Jackson, but not in this movie. In this movie, it was a mess. Maybe, I'm sure it wasn't his fault, man. I'm sure he was just doing what George Lucas said, but it was bad. Bad, 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 bad. Bad. That's a bad Samuel L. Jackson. Let's talk about... Well, we're talking about bad performances. There's lots. What is the name? What is the handmaiden's name? Like the decoy of Amidala? I don't have this quite sorted out, so maybe you can help me out with this too. Are Padme and Amidala the same person? Anyway, the decoy, the M. Night Shyamalan twist that the woman dressed up like the queen was actually the decoy. I'm talking specifically about her. What is her accent supposed to be? I really don't know what she was supposed to do accent-wise. It just sounded like she had a turd in her mouth that she was trying to talk around. Just spit the turd out and talk. Pick a dialect. And go with it. There are plenty of people who just spoke regular American English in that movie. And plenty of people that spoke like British English in that movie consistently. And it worked fine. So let's go with one or the other. If you were attempting some kind of dialect from, you know, Naboo, where she's from, it didn't work. Don't forget, guys, the fuck Jar Jar Binks count is at the end of the video. Now, we did not know how the movie was going to end, right? We did not know exactly how this movie was going to end. But there were some things that we did know. We knew that the fight against Darth Maul was going to result in a victory for Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan's in all the other movies. So we know he's going to make it out. I assumed that Qui-Gon was going to get killed, just because when they wrote him, they'd forgotten that they had not mentioned him at all, ever, in Episode 4, which you figure they should have. And so I figured he was going to bite the dust just because. Let's do a couple real quick. I'm just going to blow through a couple in a row. Since when are queens elected? Aren't they married into or whatever, given away, or just already inherit a name? Twist was stupid, we talked about that. Jabba spits food at a gong to start the pod race. Jabba the Hutt. Why would you do that? Also, they have regular Chinese gongs or tam-tams. They had them a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, right. The Immaculate Force Conception. This would be one of those bullshit references. Like the midi-chlorians, which are also bullshit in and of themselves. Or what conceived Anakin. Like, what did she do? Drink a shake? Okay, the climactic battle. So we knew who was going to win. We knew that... We didn't know for a fact that Qui-Gon was going to get killed. We didn't necessarily know for a fact that Darth Maul was going to get killed. But we knew that of the three of them, the only certain one to walk out was going to be Obi-Wan. I feel like we could have skipped a lot of time in that. Like the whole point, the whole part, especially where they're running through these doors that are opening and closing. Maybe there's some kind of energy thing that you can't force push open like every other thing in the world. Why didn't they just jam their lightsabers through it? You know? I bet you their lightsabers would have gotten the job done. They can do every other damn thing in this movie. So maybe they should just jam there. The thing is, they spent a lot of time with these doors and running down the hallway, and you know, were they padding the runtime? I don't know, but I didn't really think that was necessary. I thought that held the, you know, I thought that it held the movie back. I feel like there's a better way they could have done it that didn't involve them trying to get us to totally buy into the, 1998, 1999, 2000 CGI. It looked fine. It was cool. But I was bored. I was like, no, okay, Qui-Gon is sitting there. Wow, how intense. He's sitting there. I wonder why he's sitting there. Is it because he senses things? Because he's a Jedi? Now, as for the fuck Jar Jar Binks count, this is a number of times that I said this during the course of the movie from the 41-minute mark to the bitter end. I'll tell you all about that here in a second. I do have a couple of pros. A couple of things that I thought were really fun. There was a part where Qui-Gon says something to Jar Jar like, "What are you, an idiot?" That's a big ding, because we all know that Jar Jar is an idiot. Some of the CGI looks fantastic. Some of it objectively just looks good. And in my opinion, the CGI is really well deployed during the underwater scenes. Even though the Gungans are there to ruin it because they're there, at least the CGI looks good. The vessel that they travel to Tatooine on kind of resembles an SR-71 Blackbird, and that's a really cool plane. So that's good. I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but it's a spitting image. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan have pretty good on-screen chemistry, in my opinion. Matter of fact, I think they were two of the high points of the movie. Ewan McGregor, I didn't like him when I first saw this, when I was a kid, but I liked him this time. I was like, okay, I get why everybody said that they like Ewan McGregor. He was good. He brought kind of a fun energy to the performance, but you could tell he was an intense guy. And he and Qui-Gon had good on-screen chemistry. The pod race was cool. Kind of. And Darth Maul was cool, kind of. The problem with Darth Maul is that he's only in the movie for about 5 seconds, and you don't know anything about him except for that he is Palpatine's apprentice, and he looks badass, and he has a double-ended lightsaber. When he's in the movie, I feel like he's contributing to it, not taking away from it. Same thing with the pod race. Even though we knew how it was going to end, the pod race was pretty cool. It looked good, and it was entertaining to watch, and it wasn't a snooze fest. Now, there's the fact that his pod is sabotaged immediately while sitting at the starting line, and nobody seems to notice or care. People that had money on him winning, I would assume, would see something like that and deal with it immediately. But no, under the cover of broad daylight, he sabotages Anakin's pod. It was not believable. But then again, they were flying around in hovercraft, and the kid's like 9, and he can do it better than anybody, so not that much of a stretch, I guess. Okay, that was a lot to unpack. This review had to be longer than my other ones. I'm going to try and keep as many of them as I can to 15 minutes or less, but there was just so much to talk about. This movie is 2 hours and 16 minutes long, and it was a boring, wasted 2 hours and 16 minutes. If I had to give this movie a letter grade, it'd probably be like a D+. I'm serious, okay? It fell so short of its expectations. It didn't even really feel like a Star Wars movie. John Williams' score maybe helped it out, and the fact that R2-D2 and C-3PO were in it almost immediately, and the fact that there were lightsabers almost immediately. Like, I see that and I'm like, yeah, those things are in Star Wars. I just didn't feel like this was a Star Wars. It didn't feel like the first movie of the Star Wars trilogy in the same way that New Hope did. I also have a list of the times that I said fuck this character about who was supposed to be a hero, a main character. The fuck Jar Jar Binks count is 19 times. 19 times over the course of, from the 41-minute mark to the end, I actually openly said, fuck Jar Jar Binks, or fuck this. Now, those of you who know me in person know that I say that a lot anyways, but not about the hero, not about who's supposed to be a good guy. So, yeah, boring, confusing. The Gungans and Jar Jar themselves made the movie borderline unwatchable. I wouldn't even have honestly finished it, except for I wanted to talk about it on a review. What I put in my notes: this should have been a slam dunk by the man who gave us episodes 4, 5, and 6, and instead, it was a dumpster fire of boredom, rehashed historical themes, poorly written and poorly acted dialogue, and borderline CGI. That's exactly how I feel if I had to give it a letter grade, D+. Okay, so what do you think? Do you totally disagree? Do you think that I have this figured all wrong? Let me know. Be on the lookout for episode 2, Attack of the Clones, in the next while. Next couple of weeks, probably I'll have it out. Maybe next week. I'll try. Thank you very much for watching, and if we are not currently friends on Facebook, find me, Movie Quotes Jones. I do a daily, well, sometimes every other day, movie quote challenge from movies that I've seen, and, you know, that's kind of fun. And I also post all of my new reviews there, so if you're on there and you're also subscribed to me, then you'll know when the next one comes. And I'll get it done as soon as I can. Alright, bye.